changed the audio to proper podcast audio thing. Okay, so your image looks good, surprisingly. Mine is perfect, obviously, and you can hear me, right?
What? What do you mean? Surprisingly, and mine's naturally perfect. I'm this color. You're this color. Look,
Uh,
I
yeah.
found our colors.
You're more like mint, though, mint color.
I would say this is a bit minty, to be honest.
Is it? Because it's coming across as pixelated for me, so I can't
You
really.
know what's very interesting? All of these last few weeks, and for our grand total of, I don't know, 3 subscribers, you've been lamenting me about, oh, audio quality this, video quality that. And when everything is stripped away, no mics, no cameras, just basic phones, it's the best it's ever been. Just experts, really. Experts.
Well,
Me,
no,
nothing.
if we remember, the issue with your audio was that it was echoing. It's not echoing now. I sort of got you out of your echo chamber by just talking to you. Now you hear opposing views, like your voice
Thank
isn't
you,
echoing
Lord.
anymore.
Thank you,
Now
Savior.
you're finding a new idol. No, that's your issue. Moving from one idol to another.
My goodness, I've reverted to the true master.
Okay, this is fucking ugly in the shot though, and I can't do anything about it. Anyway, but this sounds good, right? The audio sounds good.
It sounds good to me. I'm surprised, to be honest. We've been going through this for weeks now. I'm just stripping it back to basics.
Yeah, I'm talking about mine. You're talking about yours, I think. But you do sound good as well. Like it's actually better than what we had before.
Well, I'm no longer using this sex toy of a mic. So I mean, it's not really, is it?
Because you're using it mainly for something else now, right?
Yes.
What you really actually, caught your eye. You're like, oh, we have this, that old podcast this year. We have this one. And you're like, no, how about that? Like, I'm not even sure that's a mic. Like,
you'd have to have a gaping rectum for that to be even possible or usable, to be honest with you.
Well, needs are must.
I guess so. Many a true word said in jest.
Yeah, well, it's all about liberation of your tariffs.
Talking of which, Liberation Day. What a segue you just did there.
How is it going? You know what I remember? We have this little short thing that I cut, and you're like, actually, let's just go through it quickly, and I'll ask you the question. If you're still feeling the same, Mr. Justine. I don't know why I turned into like a French villain when I call you.
You just want to misname me,
Mr. Justine.
You want to misname me. You want to put Francophilic tendencies onto the black man. You don't want the black man to live in his true identity. You want me to be a Francophile. That's what you'd rather see me under the boot of the colonial master. Francophilic chat.
Oh, no. Oh, Mr. Justine.
No, black man. No, you have it wrong, black man. No, je ne sais pas, no.
So, can you hear it, sir? Could you hear that?
No.
You couldn't hear anything?
I can only hear your mellifluous voice.
Oh, okay. Wait. So, screen. Allow. Is this. Share. Now you can see it, right?
Yes. Who's that person on the screen? Is that you? Oh,
that's me with longer hair and
wow.
What? Wow. The full screen isn't really doing that much, is it? Anyway,
what worries me is that.
Wait.
Okay, that didn't age well. That has not aged well, to be honest with you. I still stand by it. He's an agent for change. He's a gamma agent. He's a volatility agent. And maybe I was speaking my own book. Maybe I was only thinking in terms of like what he does in terms of market moves, not in terms of how he might change the neoliberal or neoconservative order of the day politically. But now that I've, I would love to say a few years of him in office, but it's actually been a few days since that last video. How much difference a few days makes? Because
it's been a couple of months. It's been a couple.
To be fair, a few months. But Lenin, and I don't oft quote Lenin, but he said sometimes nothing happens in years, and in other days, years happen in weeks or days in this case. And I that hasn't aged particularly well, because since that video, instead of being an agent for change in a positive way, instead of being a gamma agent in terms of volatility in a desirable way, he's actually just shaken up every principle of like statecraft, democracy, bilateral trade, diplomatic relations, and to the point where now we have like Chinese ministries literally calling the American administration a joke. Something you would never ever considered to be even feasible, even in like the strangest of war game scenario game planning and like game theory expeditions. So yeah, it hasn't aged well for me. I did say he was going to be an agent of change. I didn't see it coming that way. But if I actually like analyze my own, if I critique myself, everything that he's doing now, he's been saying for like years. So, I mean, maybe it's my own discounting. Maybe I said, oh, that will never happen because it's too radical. But in fact, everything that he's actually done, he's been saying. So, I mean, maybe that just goes to show that people don't really listen intently enough to what their politicians are actually saying. Or maybe it's because we're so used to politicians saying one thing and they're not actually doing it on the other hand. But I must say, it didn't age well. It hasn't aged well for me.
That was I didn't know you were great at gymnastics as well, because that was a great performance. But in your defense, you never said anything about being positive change, being a positive change. You said he's an agent of change, and that he is. The only question I was going to ask is, are you still excited, or are you just now terrified? Because like other than that, I don't think there was anything wrong with what you said. He is been making moves like no other president. He's been changing the whole world like no other president. Is chaotic, but you know it is true to what you said. Like, but the only thing is we don't know if we have the energy for the next 4 years to carry on with this. Like,
I mean,
when
like,
he said you'll get tired
so
of winning, I don't think that's what he meant.
there's been so much winning in like under 3 months that I just can't stand any more of the winning. But no, it's terrifying and it's electrifying and it's exciting. I mean, within my own like personal ideology, because he represents so much opportunity like financially, I had to weigh it up in terms of what he means for society, what he means for democracy, what he means for the global order, and what he means for my own like personal bank account and like the health and status of my own family and friends, you know. But if we were to assess it from a purely like financial point of view, if you are trying to make money or if you're trying to exploit these opportunistic geopolitical tensions, then he's great for it, as long as you can position yourself accordingly. I don't mean like the Luddites like you who are like stuck to tracking the FTSE in their pension. I'm talking about people who are actively like trading these markets. No offense, by the way, but that's most people, right? They're passively invested. They don't understand what's going on.
I don't have any shares. I don't know
when
why
it comes to
you
markets.
tell me. I don't have any shares.
They're a bit brain dead when it comes to markets. They have no idea between the FTSE and the Footlocker down the high street. But if you're actually talking about like active investors, he's great. He's an agent of volatility, and that's what we need. If we're talking about like the geopolitical global norms of the world, he's absolutely terrifying. He's like what I find terrifying is not necessarily what he's doing. What I find terrifying is how it's going about. The messaging, the optics, the transmission, the lack of any kind of coordinated plan or ostensibly any kind of logic. That's what I find truly amazing and terrifying. 1 minute he's coming out with a policy, his administration is like so bombastic, and the next minute it's completely U-turned, which would be political suicide. Entirely anathema to most career politicians. That's what I find truly terrifying, because it only takes like one hair trigger of a mistake for it to result in repercussions that will last way beyond his tenure or even his lifespan. Because what I'm seeing now in terms of like geopolitical diplomacy, geostrategic considerations, rearmament in like Japan, industrialization of the Germans, and we know how that ended up last time. When I'm seeing all of these things, it poses such a dramatic shift, such a momentous delta. The pace of change, the second order derivatives of change are so intense and so fast that it's entirely unpredictable for anyone to even forecast what will happen next. So, I mean, it's terrifying in that way, but it's exciting in other ways. I mean, British politics, that moves like an Olympic class Titanic ship. But America, they're moving like a bloody speedboat. But you know what happened to the Titanic.
I think that's a very that it kind of brings it to my point of what when you say like the things he's doing will have a ramification for much longer than his years, and I think that's already true because electing Trump isn't electing Trump, it's electing someone like Trump. That is the issue, that it might happen again and again in the US with the way things are in the US, with the way their politics move, and how their voters vote. It is quite likely that next president, you're like, wow, Trump was sane. Trump was like, he was moving slow. This guy is like just nuking places one after another, or threatening to nuke places. Like the next one might, rather than using tariffs, say like, oh, we have all the nukes. We can just tell people to pay up for security.
Right? Like true mafia, yeah.
But I don't know. From what I said in the same clip, I was saying like rather than the left, rather than actually making moves and taking the initiative, they are just sitting on the sideline and just being disapproved of what Trump is doing, rather than actually doing something about it. And I think it is still true, but at the same time, I'm not sure with not having, for example, the Democratic Party without having the House, without having the Senate or Supreme Court or the anyone in the president's office, how they can actually make any changes. And at this point, I don't know if it's even they want to make any changes, or they're just waiting on the side and say like, just keep making mistakes, and we don't have to do anything. We'll just wait for our time, because if it carries on like this. And in regards to the tariffs, I don't know much about it, and we had this conversation before as well. I was saying like, because we were talking about Ukraine, I was saying, is this just the good old imperialism with what Trump is doing with Ukraine, saying like, okay, show me what you got and I'll help you, and trying to get all the resources. And you were saying no, it's not. Like, and I also still on two minds about it with the whole tariff situation as well. That is it just US saying like, we're just not subsidizing anyone anymore. We don't have friends anymore. We just we're the big gone, and we just try to squeeze money out of everyone, like it's come for new deals. Like anything else, like when you work with someone and they're suddenly like, oh, actually from now on you have to do this work too, and at the beginning you're like, oh, well, that's unfair, I'm not going to do it, and then you're still thinking about, oh, I gotta pay my rent at the end of the month, I have to do this, I got 2 children, I gotta do it. Like and in 2 months' time, you forget that you ever like argued about not doing this extra work. And I think that's sort of the same thing with a lot of countries as well. They might not like it, but at some point they're like, let's get on with it. Even with investors as well, they start to calculate this in, and the markets wouldn't just go on a free fall. I don't think so. It has recovered already last few days, despite like I was listening to something on CNN, and they were like bashing Trump, and then they were like saying like, the markets have recovered so far.
They're back. The markets are back 10% again.
The stupid market. They're really. And it is, I think it's kind of like hypocritical on both sides. Like now for the left, it's all about the stock market. It's going down. This is terrible.
Right.
Nobody, like there was like stock market's evil, and it's also with all the Trump supporters that they were so happy the stock was rallying in the first time. Now they're like, who actually owns stocks?
Who
Let's talk
cares about
just-
stocks, really?
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
But that's politics. That's politics. I mean, you use the useful tools and you implement the useful idiots when it suits your agenda. Like, oh, stock market's good for us. Oh, so let's use it as one of our metrics. Oh no, stock market's bad, so let's lambast it. And like you said, the Democrats completely shifting their values. But at the risk of sounding like an autocratic sympathizer, this is the danger.
Oh, it's all welcome here.
This is what we're about. At the risk of sounding like a sympathizer for certain mono-party states, this is the inherent problem with a dual-party system that doesn't really offer credible opposition. I mean, you could always think, oh no, you know what, the Democrats, they're not offering opposition because they're thinking, hey, why interrupt your adversary when they're making their own mistakes, right? Why do it? They're already shooting themselves in the foot. Why do we need to do anything? But it just shows you that there really isn't a credible opposition in most of these dual states, because when you look at the political machinations, when you look at the parliamentary arithmetic, they're basically on the same side, and that's of the moneyed classes and big business, and they use the proletariat and the population as like pinatas to achieve their political ambitions and their goals. And whatever metric is best used and best served to fit their agenda, they'll implement it, which is why you can see them prevaricating and equivocating over things that were previously completely unsuitable for them, like the Democrats talking about the stock market and Trump talking about it not being a worthy metric. Even you have like media, legacy media, who are deleting stock quotes from their screens, even though before their main raison d'etre was to be a market-based program. So you see these kind of things. And I'm not trying to say that China has it better, but at least I'm saying that in a system where you have governance over an elongated time frame, hey, it doesn't have all of the advantages of a liberal, dynamic, synergistic economy or even a cultural tapestry, but it does allow you to do things over a long period of time. Whereas with Trump, you're going to have to get things done in the first 100 days, because you know after that the state apparatus becomes sclerotic. Getting anything through is like political gridlock, and then you're just fighting successive challenge after successive challenge. And there's only so far that the executive order can take you. In terms of what you said before, we are getting used to an increasing level. The distance between the fanatic and the next fanatic is becoming so much greater, to the point where I wouldn't even be surprised. You might have said it in jest, but I wouldn't even be surprised if the next leader was like, hey, if they don't bend to our will, we will invade them. I mean, look what they're talking about, taking Canada, taking Greenland. It's not that far out of the realm of possibility or feasibility. It doesn't even take that much imagination to be creative, to think outside of the box to that extent, because the next guy is quite possibly J.D. Vance, who, let's be honest, diplomacy to J.D. Vance is like, I don't know, a duck to a shotgun. They just don't match, right? He's out there calling Chinese people peasants. And I've never ever seen a reply that is so undiplomatic and so lacking in respect from either side, that the Chinese ministry came out and were like, bro, I'm paraphrasing, by the way.
For you.
I'm paraphrasing. Bro, our middle class is 3 times the size of your entire population, broski. Like, learn your place. We've been here for 5,000 years. You're but a bane. You've been here for 300 years. We'll be here for 5,000 years more, bro. Like Lenin said. And
sorry.
Yeah.
We can just watch the clip as well that you're referring to. I don't think there will be an issue with that.
Man, the technology, yes, I love it. Can I just say?
I just wanted to cut him in the middle of his...
Bloody
more
peasant.
disrespectful.
Get back to the farm. Get back to your farm. Who taught you to talk? Quote, courtesy of Ashkan's thought process. No, but I just want to say, look, did you ever envisage a world where China, the CCP, the state apparatus of the Politburo were looking like the most sensible, democratic, and liberal people in the room? Would you ever have envisaged, this is what Trump has made possible. Trump's administration make China look like the better place to be. they look like the more respectable politicians. And what's scary about it is that America have progressed. They're highly industrialized. Most of the most valuable companies in the world come from America. They got the largest economy, the largest military, the highest standard of living. But China is on their heels, and China are acting more couth and more respectable and more, I don't know, I would say with more authority than America is. And you just wouldn't have envisaged this. That's why I love this world, because not but 3 months ago, you never would have envisaged that, ever.
You envisage that every day for the last 3 years.
Finally,
Knowing
yes.
you,
Superior
like,
China number one. China number one.
the way you're salivating. Finally, it's here.
The 100 years
Now
of
was
humiliation
right.
over. 100 years of shame finished.
Yeah. But you're right in a sense that, you know, China is acting like the adult in the room. And I think in a previous episode, I also mentioned, you know, how I'm quite pro-Western, whereas you are like, you just love every Russian, every Chinese autocrat that, you know, comes and goes.
I mean, what's democracy
kidding.
doing for you right now, Ashkan? What's democracy doing for you right now? I tell you what it's doing. It's destroying liberalized world orders. It's destroying intricately and complexly linked trade routes. It's destroying the standards and the quality of living of the very base that voted for him. It's disrupting world trade. It's threatening a resurgence and a scourge of inflation. And it's making the world a less safe place. So what's democracy done for you now?
Everything.
And that's it. Let's move on.
Everything.
Everything. Now shut up and don't ask me any more questions.
Make him quiet.
That's what democracy's done. It allows me to shut your mouth.
No, what I was going to say is, yeah, China's being the adult in the room, but I think the issue is more fundamental. I think Trump is right in trying to challenge China. I don't know the way he's going about it. It's just isolating himself. Is like isolating US is quite wrong. He should have tried to. I don't understand it. He tried to bring Russia into the fold, and to isolate China. Then he isolated himself from all his allies in a way that I think even Europe is just sort of looking to China.
Ashkan,
yeah.
Trump is playing 17-dimensional chess. You don't understand. Your mind isn't big enough. The art of the deal isn't within your brain intensely enough to understand what Trump is doing. Trump is breaking down everyone to such an extent that he can build them back up in their own image. Everyone soon will have a spray tan department, a department of orange tan. That will be the new modus operandi.
The problem is this has changed rather than art of the deal to the deal art of.
But you said something, Ashkan. You said you agree that America has to manage China. What did you mean by that?
I mean, it was a mistake bringing China into the fold and thinking that economic freedom means changing the government, bringing democracy to China.
Wait. Are you talking about the decision by the Clinton administration?
Yes,
over 20 years ago to allow China into WHO standards and giving them preferred nation trading status?
Yes.
You're saying that was a mistake all those years ago. Why? Should you not be saying it was a mistake that the administration didn't manage that transition properly, rather than the Chinese fault?
Is always the well, I didn't say it's the Chinese fault. I said it was a mistake to bring China into the fold like that and give China a free reign.
Why is it a mistake to bring a country that's growing at double digit?
Now you have to deal with China because now China is, I think they underestimated China, and now they have to deal with China because China.
So wait. So what you're saying is that you want there to be not you want there to be a monopolar world, right? Where only one hegemonic entity.
What I want, I'm saying
you want there to be just imperialistic America, the good old days of the white man going around and subjugating everyone else. That's what you basically want. It was a mistake to let those coolies in. It was a mistake to give them freedom.
Now they're selling fentanyl back. Is that? See, they're not grateful. We gave him opium, and now they're sending fentanyl back.
No, but
Unbelievable.
I take your point. I mean, it was misguided to believe that liberalization of trade and economics and capitalism would change a model ingrained thousands of years before and informed by great famines and many leaders like Dao Xiaoping and all these other people. It was poor political science. It was poor thought to think that you could go around the world and impose your ways of living and think it would change those people on the ground, for sure.
I think it was more like, think about all the money we can make and like, cheap manufacturing in China. It was like, in terms of free market, I think it was no brainer to do this. But at the same time, I think they misunderstood that they can manage China. But whereas US sort of, I think in terms of political structure, sort of went down. But China remained the same, even more rigid in its political system. It seems to be working. I'm sure there is a lot of, like any other autocratic regime, there's a lot of corruption. Things might be, like, it might end up China being a paper tiger as well. But I doubt it, not to the extent of like how Iran is, but it could be like it's not all rosy in China as well. And, they might surprise you and they might break, there might be some changes in like political system if US actually put pressure on them, but there is no actual evidence of it right now. And
Can you imagine
the way US is going about it as well, with the arrogance, they're just giving them fuel of getting them actually what's the word for it, to be together, and rather than the US is taking all the blame by being the bad guy. Like, they're not playing it well. So
I would love to know how this is being telegraphed and transmitted in China. I would love to see what state media.
Mandarin and Cantonese.
Yeah. Well, you mean they don't have like an English broadcast? So they don't have a for us. No, I'd love to see how CCTV are broadcasting this and whether or not they are, because like you say, I think the word you were looking for was a tricky one. It's called unity, and I think it has unified the Chinese.
I slept for 3 hours. Shut up.
I think it has.
The thing is, I started panicking as well. I'm like, why can't I remember?
Unity. I think it has unified them. It's made a shared enemy. And can you imagine a China that was completely open, completely free, completely democratic? Be careful what you wish for, because that kind of China, if that was unleashed onto the world, that dynamism, that creativity, that pure economic power, that labor force, that would be a force to reckon with. If that was unleashed and they got rid of all of their systems of like only being able to get certain healthcare in the province that you're born, I think it's called the haiku score. If they got rid of all of that, China would be a force to be reckoned with. I mean, but as you said, the higher echelons they seldom want to relinquish power. But if that were to happen, be careful what you wish for, America, because China would soon supplant you. And I'm not just saying that because I like China. I'm saying that because it's an economic probable reality.
Yeah, but and I'm not saying it because I don't like the Chinese. If it was a free country, I would have loved to live in China. And I don't care if they were like the richest country in the world, if their culture was the dominant culture in the world, like if they were a free country, and if they didn't have all these weird rules, I didn't have any problem with them. So as for me, I would wish that to be true, but I can't go to China anymore after this.
I don't know. I don't know if you're going to be greeted with red carpet, to be honest with you.
Well, there will be a red carpet. It might be wrapped around me.
The carpet started off as white, and when Ashkan left, it was red.
It didn't leave, though.
Man, but no, I mean, I have enjoyed seeing this U-turn, a dramatic U-turn. In some ways, Trump had to save face by ratcheting up the pressure on China. And if you were to, like, I don't know, talk about it in favorable and optimistic lights, as the way that you like to paint the picture, Ashkan, because we all know that you're a Trumpian acolyte. But if you were to give them the benefit of the doubt, you would actually say, hey, no, they did this to get a position of strength. Because look, we have all of these nations now phoning our trade departments, trying to strike a deal, and we've at the same time been able to, well, ostensibly, theoretically, weaken our main adversary, because that's the actual logic in this game theory. It's not to scupper yourself in world trade. It's to stop your most near and most feared competitor from rising and taking you over as the hegemonic power, as the imperialistic nation, as the greatest military threat, as the greatest economic threat, and as the cultural influence of the world, which, let's be honest, they have been for the vast majority of time. So if you look at it in terms of not a vacuum, but as a means to an end, and the means that the end is to get China weakened. You see all of these other things falling away and making far less sense. The main idea is to weaken China, not to inflict pain on the world, not to diminish trade with the world, but to get China to a position where they are on their knees and to build on a momentum that's already building in China, which is, like, let's be honest, a property disaster, a property bubble, deflationary pressures where their people don't spend money, the Japanification of a nation, a real lack of dynamism in terms of their people being able to invest in domestic assets, wanting to control capital from fleeing the nation. So they're building on that momentum, that pressure that already is building in China. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm no Trumpian acolyte like you are. I'm no disciple of J.D. Vance like you are. But I would say if you were to look at it in that way, in game theory, hey, weakening China is actually a good thing for you to do if you are the main hegemonic power. If you are the person whose economy is 75% consumption, your GDP is led by consumption, and China is led by export, what's the best thing you do? I'm going to destroy your nation without firing a single kinetic bullet. I'm going to stop world trade with you. Your GDP is basically dependent on our consumption. And that's how it's going to work. But I don't attribute that to Trump, because I don't think he's playing 17-dimensional chess, and I don't think he's a genius like you do, Ashkan.
I like how you've changed your tune. Well, there are the previous videos that everyone can view that, how you were talking about Trump. Oh, Mr. Trump going to save us!
Oh, Trump, save me, daddy! Save me, daddy, father!
Oh, Biden's so stupid! Trump's so good! That was the extent of your analysis.
But you know what, Ashkan? The difference is I'm able to change my opinion.
Yeah,
An inflexible Luddite like yourself, no disrespect intended, an inflexible ideologue, a dogmatic individual like yourself, you're incapable of change. Whereas me, I reassess the situation. I see the paradigm shift. I see the zeitgeist changing. I reassess the variables. And I changed my outlook. I'm flexible.
Can I ask how much money you've made since this turmoil in the market? Or have you lost money?
I don't view things in terms of money. Money is fleeting, Ashkan. I'm trying to...
like a snake oil salesman by the minute.
I'm looking for a legacy beyond money. No, but no. It's been a lucrative time. Don't get me wrong. I thrive on
button
volatility.
down. I see you put a couple buttons down. You're like, another. That's sorted. After Cyprus, where am I going?
Why are you trying to dox me, bro?
I'm going to the Mars.
Stop doxing me. Why are you doxing me? You're doxing my locations, bro.
Well, you're not there anymore.
How do you know?
Because you're at your home.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I've changed that green screen I bought from China. Damn, it's not working.
It's with the tariffs now.
It's going to be like double the price now, Ashkan.
Well, what was it going to? I was going to ask something. Yeah, J.D. Vance. I'm a bit disappointed.
Why? Why? JD Vance was always a slippery salesman, a bombastic ideologue who was, quite frankly, the most unstatesmanlike person I've ever seen, propelled to office by saying a quick succession of yeses, 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 going from the military into private equity, becoming like right wing. It's the pipeline to victory in America. Why are you surprised by JD Vance?
Oh, well, you know his history as well, right? Like where he grew up, and there's like a film about it as well. Like
Yeah, I know, but he wrote a good book as well. But why does that surprise you? That someone who came
he's
from
very
that.
well educated, and I've seen a few of his interviews. He was actually very well spoken and not arrogant at all, and like handled difficult situation very well. But now I don't know. He's turning into like sort of gaffe prone person that, you know, I don't know how many more of these Trump going to accept. Like he's becoming too much of the headline for a vice president, unless it is meant to be like that, unless he has direct initiative, direct orders from Trump to be like that. I don't know if it is just
he must have permission.
He shouldn't say like so I don't know, like saying Chinese peasants, are they actually trying to make China angry and make a mistake, or is this just arrogance coming through? Or is it not being able to see that, you know, you're talking in a public forum, you're talking like you not knowing your place in the world right now. You're the vice president of US. Your words actually have weight, so you can't just. And it's different than Trump. Even though like there's like this weird thing that if Trump had said it, it would have been less insulting. Like, firstly, then they were like, JD Vance, who the hell are you? Calling people peasants, you know, like a negative way. And secondly, it just Trump says things back to back, and he might praise you in the next sentence, so it has less weight to it. Sorry, you were trying to interrupt me a few times.
No. Your premise is your premise is a logical one, Ashkan. But unfortunately, this administration isn't built on logic. They're built on emotion, on bombastic statements, and on dog whistle politics. I believe that JD Vance has complete free reign and permission from Donald Trump. You only need to see his succession of not gaffes, but closely curated and carefully orchestrated public outbursts. The first one was with Zelensky. The next one was when he went and literally lectured didactically all of the European Union. And then the next one was when he went to Greenland and resulted in the Greenlandic admiral or general getting fired because he wasn't allowed to do that. These are a succession of not gaffes, they're carefully curated public appearances to shape optics and to reinforce the overall message that, hey, America's back, baby, and we're not taking it lying down. And we're coming for what's ours, we're kicking butt, and we're taking names. You could properly characterize American politics as Chuck Norris ideology. Kicking butt and taking names. That's what they're doing. Trump is signing off on everything he does. In fact, I don't even think it's that organized. I think Trump has said, listen, bro, go forth and insult, go forth and denigrate, go forth and appeal to our base. We're trying to bring back machismo. We're trying to bring back strongmen. We're trying to bring back American respect. And if that means breaking a few eggs, so be it. Hey, you can't turn an aquarium into fish soup and then back into an aquarium. Once it's broken, it's broken. They've broken the eggs to make the omelette. It's not coming back. This is the trajectory of this administration. JD Vance has a free reign to go forth and insult until they achieve their policy objectives, which I don't think many people are considering. Many people look at this this whole process, this whole system of failures as just that, failures. But if you actually view these things, if you see the triangulation of their intentions, their policy goals that have actually been clearly transmitted through their campaigns, through things like the Mar-a-Lago Accords, through Scott Bessent, the Treasury advisor, and through Howard Ludwig, the head of trade. If you see all of these things, even David Sachs, the crypto czar, These are clearly telegraphed initiatives and agendas. The problem is the world doesn't want to believe it. They don't think that anyone could be this reckless. They don't think that anyone would dare change the global order. And let me be clear: the global order needs to change. Does it need to change in terms of trade deficits? Maybe not. But it does need to change in terms of Europeans developing their own defense mechanisms, being less reliant on American dynamism and influence, being less suckered by American capitalism and financing from American shores. They need to be more independent, and these supply chains need to be made more robust. You need to have no single points of failures that one person in the supply chain can derail you. You need to go back to a form of quasi-autarky where nations are suitable and able to provide for their own people and to defend their shores and to ensure robust political, industrial, and monetary policy in order to make their populations more successful. There needs to be that reordering. Do I agree with how it's done? No. But any other way would be sclerotic, slow, elongated, drawn out, and probably less fruitful than the way they're doing it. They're going to break a few eggs to make an omelette. And once you make a fish soup, there's no going back to the aquarium.
Any other? Yeah, the issue with the making the omelet simile is that I think it's rather than making it in using a gas stove, it's being just they're cracking the omelets against the cracking the eggs against the wall, hoping for the best, hoping for the sun to shine on them and make up. I really don't know actually that if that's the case or not. I haven't looked at I don't think anyone has because there's so much partisan view of things. I don't know if anyone has actually looked at every claim that Trump has made in regards to trade and in regards to how America been treated. I know quite the formula they used is doesn't make any sense. They're pretty much using a trade deficit as sort of as a way of saying there is a tariff surplus and divided by 2, and they say oh, that's how much tariff you pay. And some of the countries there is actually a tariff surplus, so they're buying more stuff. They're still being hit with 10% tax basically.
Okay. Why not?
Yeah, you gotta pay them 10% more. You gotta do it. And we've been nice. Look what we've done in all the other countries. It is, from what I say, it's just a strongman politics. It's just sort of mafia politics, especially with J.D. Vance going to Greenland and say oh, what a nice place. It's a shame if something happens to it.
Right?
No.
Oh, that's so true. That's so. Oh, this restaurant's lovely. Wouldn't want to see its windows broken. That's so true.
I swear he watched. Have you seen Godfather? I swear he went. He watched the bit when Michael goes to Las Vegas and tells what's his name, Mo Green, I'm gonna buy you out.
Oh man, the whole Trump administration's ideology is based on The Sopranos and Godfather. I'm gonna make them a deal they can't refuse.
You just have to pay more now. From this week, we'll be collecting.
Man, no. Hey, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think normally if America sneezes, the world catches the flu, right? Everything is kind of disseminated from there, culturally, societally, militarily, economically. Everything comes from America. As much as I hate to admit it, even culturally, most things stem from there because they are the leading hegemon of the planet. But I think this is really going to usher in a new decade or century of American decline. I think this is really going to lead to de-dollarization. It's going to cause central banks around the world to redenominate their reserve assets away from dollars and into things like gold and into more isolated assets that are free from American intervention. I feel like the military push away from American defense umbrellas is going to actually come back to bite America in the foot when they see rearmament in Europe, rearmament in Asia, which is going to provide a credible threat going forward. I think all of these things are the opening salvo, the first warning shot in what will be a cacophonous change in the global world order, and they don't really realize where it's going. You look back at times like this, and it'll be taught in history books like this was the beginning of American decline. This was the beginning of the decline in American exceptionalism. This was the beginning of, I don't know, a war, hopefully not kinetic. You will look back at this point here and be able to say, this is when it happened. It's very hard to say it in real time. Retrospectively, it's always easier. Hindsight's always 20/20, less myopic and much more crystalline in its appearance and clarity. But I really do think this is ushering in the demise of that empire.
Yeah, I don't think it's beginning of the decline. I think it is just like one of the indicators that it has been declining for a while, and now it got to a point that it can't play by its own rules, and then just the putting aside the rules of the free market and saying like, oh no, give us money. I need the money. Give me the money. Like literally, it's just gone down to this. And as you say, yeah, it's the issue is I don't know why they thought like not every country going to bend over and roll over and agree to it, whereas all the countries, even in short term, they might agree to things, but in long term they'll be thinking, okay, today it's this, tomorrow it might be something else. And we can't be just, it's like one of the exactly like empires, like raising taxes on all the other kingdoms, and at some point
Right?
a rebellion because they're like
right? No, that's a really good point. There's something called the Thucydides trap, or the Thucydides trap, and it's talking about the late stage decline of empire. And you're right. In the late stage decline, the empire becomes like a vacuum where it needs to bring in ever more taxation. It needs to bring in all of the funds. It needs to expropriate everything. It needs to take in everything from all of its dominions and its vassal states. And it defines, it doesn't define it, but it's because at that late stage of empire, everything is so like corrupt. Everything is so inefficient. The house of cards are built on successive layers of like debt and like capitalistic corruption that it has to suck in ever more value for it to be able to sustain its cirrhosis, its cirrhotic state apparatus. And the late stage of it is the most implosive, the most vacuum-like. It brings it all in. Wars are waged. Irrational logic is used. Your trading partners are damaged. It's the last stage of like the empire. I'm not saying it is for America, but yeah, I think there are symptoms and signs that are definitely showing for it now.
Okay, this was good. Do you want to do another one tomorrow?
Yeah, let's do it tomorrow. I'm going to think of some topics to do. I don't know. You know what? I mean, in this world of Trump, we can have something new every day.
We need to think of topics. Like we might do one tonight. Like
exactly.
Trump and JD Vance have decided it's now a tag team, like a wrestling. And every time they touch, the president and vice president changes.
Exactly.
They can't just carry on for 10 more years because it's a tag team.
Oi, third term Trump. Can you imagine a third term Trump? Can you imagine Trump with a dash of senility, like a dash of dementia? Imagine that, third term. Trump with a dash of dementia.
Imagine after all that, you sign a deal with him and he immediately forgets.
But no, tomorrow I can do, it has to be in the evening though, because I have something called a job. I know you don't, because you live like the landed gentry. You don't have to work for a living, but I do.
On a Sunday, okay.
Oh, well, no. The week here starts on a Sunday.
Okay. That's
but I can do it after 5 p.m.
Thing these foreigners do, it's quite silly, but I guess their ways.
These silly natives. They know it's a day of Christendom rest.
Sunday is God's day.
Sunday is Jesus' day. Bloody barbarians. Bloody Philistines. It's time for us to go over there with missionaries and change their way of thinking, Rupert.
Anyway, this was good. So I'm going to just export this and send this on YouTube immediately rather than do anything with it. I think we have to do a bit of this rather than putting on, especially the Trump stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be obsolete in 2 days' time. Anyway, good to see you again.
Anyway, safe. Bye.
Tomorrow.